BeastNet Podcast, sponsored in part by James Safety Services, OCR Buddy, and supported by the fitness community. Here we discuss all things fitness related, running, rucking, mental health and preparedness, and of course, obstacle course racing. Welcome to the BeastNet.
We don't bite hard.
Hey everybody, it's Mike with BeastNet here, and today I've got with me Dan McDonald from Spartan. Dan, we've talked about it a little bit here and we've met. Let the listeners know a little bit about who Dan is.
Sure. Appreciate having me on. So first and foremost, I'm a racer. Been racing for a number of years now, mostly Spartans, just getting into the Tough Mudder side of things now that I do work for the company. And what I get to do for Joe and the team is I get to work with charities like More Heart Than Scars, Oscar Mike, 50 for the Fallen, just a lot of different charities. I feel very fortunate that what I know, some of the stuff that I get to do helps somebody on the other end. And that's kind of what brought you and I together, obviously running with More Heart Than Scars recently.
Yeah, we did, we did the Tough Mudder World's Toughest. You were there with all of us. We've talked to a few people. We talked to Marla on the show, and we've talked to a couple of other people that were there, but it was, Dan was with us the entire time, all 30 miles.
Yeah, it's the stuff that we get to do, right? I mean, and I feel very fortunate. I know you do too, that we get to change people's way that they look at what they can accomplish. More Heart Than Scars, absolutely. I mean, among a bunch of others, I'm pretty partial. I know you are, same, to More Heart Than Scars for what they're doing. We just had a conversation yesterday, and again today, with Joey, and we're actually working with the VA hospital in Orlando. It's last year. It was a one-time thing. They were going to just try to get a few people out to come do some adaptive athletes to come out and do the event. And last year, I think we had 15 or so, and they, you know what this year looked like. We had the starting corral completely full between the adaptive athletes, between the people helping out. We were able to get some folks for the entire distance out there. Other folks weren't able to go the entire distance, but everybody crossed the finish line. Everybody accomplished their goals. And it was amazing to watch. It's always amazing to watch it. And when somebody does one more thing than they thought they could do, again, for those of us who get to help these folks out and get to help them realize what they can actually accomplish. Marla was a great example of that in Texas and for the World's Toughest. I mean, she wanted to do 20 miles, maybe 25. And, when we got that crushed before she ever went to bed at 2:00 in the morning, now I had to be 30 all of a sudden. So that, again, something that she never thought she'd have done. I know now she's going back out with the team to knock out an ultra, Spartan Ultra, I think in Fayetteville.
I think it's going to be Fayetteville.
Yeah. So, and as I talk with the folks in More Heart Than Scars, that what usually catches my attention the most is just the humility. They're just so humble. What y'all do on a regular basis every single weekend is change someone's life. Maybe not even necessarily the person who's out there with you as the athlete, but somebody who comes by and sees the flag. I know you've been stopped a number of times. The couple times I've gotten to go out with y'all, I've been stopped, and it's not so much the More Heart Than Scars flag that gets their attention. It's the other one, right? It's talking about the hidden scars. And, that, so as somebody who has lost a brother to suicide when I was only 5 years old, those hidden scars hit pretty hard. And, I wonder what if back in 1976, somebody could have been there, right? So again, it's cool what we can provide.
It is. And it's like you said, it's one of those things that I think, and you said it, the best way we get to help these people.
Yeah.
It's so amazing to me that so many people get so stuck on worrying about, themselves and doing all this stuff. And then I would much rather, if you gave me the choice right now, you said you could give me the ability that I could win every single race that I go do this year. or I could do 4 races and help somebody who couldn't normally do it. I would go help that person, because
Yep.
to me, it's no longer about the podiums. It's about, I mean, not that I'm ever been in the right shape for a podium anyway, but it's about helping somebody who normally wouldn't be able to do it. It's having that person, when I first started with Spartan back in 15, and being on the street team, we talked to people and we said, hey, they're like, I can't do this. I can't. Well, why not? It's too expensive. Here's a free race. What's your next excuse? Oh, well, I need to train for it. Hey, I got a group of friends. We go out every weekend and we train for it. Oh, I'm not at your level. I wasn't at my level a year ago. So come on out. We'll do it. Oh, I have this injury. We can work around that. You don't have to do every obstacle. Everybody, and that's why I see all the time. You see it in the Facebook pages. Oh, if you can't do the obstacles, you shouldn't be out there. No, we all have our own. Open is out there for a reason.
Yep.
Open is there so that we can do what we can do. And there are people that you have no idea what they're fighting, and no idea how that one race and being able to accomplish that changes their mindset.
Absolutely. And, I know a lot of folks that, they tear a muscle, break a bone, whatever. And well, I hope Adam doesn't get mad at me, but Adam Feinberg out of Pennsylvania area, he's a, longtime Spartan, heck of a nice guy. Had some pretty serious health issues early in the middle of 23. I get updates about every other day message to me from him, showing me where he's, now he's walking with a walker without any extra help, telling me that he's only, this many months away from, the ability to be able to walk on his own. And if you ask him why he is pushing so hard, so he can get back on the course.
Yeah.
And his first race back, I don't care what I'm doing. I don't care where I'm at. I will change whatever that is to walk right beside him, just because that's what OCR. And obviously I'm a little partial to Spartan, and Tough Mudder, but all OCR, everything OCR has that effect that, if you can't travel a long distance and we're not near you, but there's a local one, go do the local one. At the end of the day, it tests you a little bit more than going for a 5K run or a 5K walk. And, I'm a firm believer, like you say, that I would love to help anybody if anybody's watching this and like, I've thought about doing one of these things. I can absolutely get rid of that first excuse. I can't afford it, because I have the luxury of what you had back in 2015. They can reach right directly out to me and I will get them on the course on me, because I will tell you that the first time racers that are out there, over 50% of every single race is first time racers. That was true every race last year across the US. And most of them thought, there's no way. I can't do this. I can't complete this thing. But they crossed the finish line.
Yeah.
They did the fire jump, or electroshock therapy, whichever one of the two brands they did. And they went and did another one. I mean, you met Henry at World's Toughest Mudder. I don't think anybody would have guessed his first race was Las Vegas last year. As a first race he did. Now he's doing ultras. Now he's doing World's Toughest Mudder. He's doing Death Race with me in June.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who's coming up on his 1 year anniversary of doing races.
Which is
so
amazing.
Yeah, I'm telling you, what our bodies are capable of is only limited by what our mind tells us it can or can't do.
Yeah.
So, again, it's what we get to do and what we get to see. There's another group out there called Ainsley's Angels. It is a group that, takes young kids who are wheelchair bound. And again, right now, or until last year, all they did was 5Ks, 10Ks type of thing, right? And maybe half marathons on the pavement, because they never considered that they could take them on off road and come do a Spartan race. I was very fortunate enough we didn't run with them because I was running with the VA hospital last year, but they caught up to us as we were going through the course. And these two young gentlemen that were out there, they were having so much fun. Their smiles were ear to ear. I got messages and videos afterwards of how excited they were. You know, their life changed that day because they got a little bit muddy. Mom and dad weren't afraid of them getting hurt. They got to go do things a little bit more challenging than ride kilometers. And so this year, that group is doing 4 races this year instead of only 1. And again, Joey and the team from More Heart is going to help out. They're going to do Fayetteville. So, Joey knows he's going to get a pretty big, we get a pretty good sized team for More Heart, probably more people than we actually need for the number of athletes we have. So we're going to actually share some athletes or some help with Ainsley's to help them get through, because I think they're going to have 3 or 4 riders going for them. So it's another just a good example of our community that we get to enjoy being part of also. Yeah, I know you've seen that for 8 years now, right? You've seen what the community does. And I know it's like I'm on a soapbox preaching about OCR, but it's truly all OCR. Again, I can't stress that enough, that it's every place I've gone, everybody I've talked to, all we want is for people to just test their bodies a little bit more than what they thought they could, get out there one more day. And it's amazing. You put that date on a calendar. Joey just made me put a date on the calendar for next September, as we're looking at taking a wheelchair athlete to summit Kilimanjaro next September. And, nice. So that's like an ultimate date. Luckily, I have 18 months or whatever it is between now and then, because I live 6 feet below sea level. So give me a little bit of work before I do that. But again, that's what we get to do. It's not just Spartan. It's not just Tough Mudder. And sometimes it's not just OCR. I mean, we're going to go be very uncomfortable, in a whole different country, continent. So that's what I love about this. That's what I mean, the connections we can make, the people we get to go out here and do stuff with. Some of these groups, I don't know if you've heard of a group called 50 for the Fallen. It's another nonprofit foundation, and they do 50-mile rucks. And the idea is for some of these folks who fought for our country, allow us to do what we do every single day because they did what they did. But they come back and there's those scars, right? Those hidden scars that they some of them don't talk about it, unfortunately. And we lose some. And the goal there is get them out there for a 50-mile ruck, and somewhere along the 50 miles, the emotions break down a little bit and they open up and they can start having a conversation, and then they can build on that. And so he started doing some of these rucks that actually ruck into the beginning of our events. And so they end 50 miles after 18 hours. And then if the person's up for it, they'll go do whatever Spartan race happens like an hour later. They're not sleeping for the last 24 hours. So it's, again, they take the person way out of their comfort zone.
And sometimes you need that. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I have formed some of the best friendships and people that I consider family out of there on the course, and people that I didn't know before I stepped out on the course. One of my training partner here in Conroe, where I live now, we met doing the Dallas Ultra 2 years ago. We never met before, and I'm in the middle of the ultra, and we just kept passing each other and helping each other obstacles. And finally, we're like, well, we're both in this for 2 laps, so we might as well just become friends at this point. We're about the same pace, and we became the best of friends. And now, 2 years later, before we lived, 3,000 miles apart. Now we're like right next to each other. And we go train all together all the time. So I've met people through this that, are family now, and it's because of that. Like when you go do like a 5K, and I've done full marathons, I've done half marathons, I've done all those 5Ks, all that stuff. You don't stop and talk to people. You put your head down, you put in your headphones, and you just go. That's it. When you're doing obstacle course races, you have to stop and do the obstacle. A lot of times, oh, hey, someone's right in front of you. So you talk to them for a minute. Oh, you help them. Oh, hey, you need a leg up. Do you need this? And you help people. And by the end of it, if you keep meeting the same people at the obstacles, by the end of it, you're friends. And it's just an amazing thing.
You use the word family, right? It sounds like a cliche. I know it's, when we hold a we call it the OCR 101 call every other Tuesday. Just inviting people who if it's their first time they've ever done any kind of an OCR, come on. Usually have an SGX coach on there, a season pass holder, ambassadors, and a couple of the people on there just to try help their first race be a little more comfortable. And all of us will say that exact line that you meet people out there who you may not see them but twice a year just because of travel and stuff. But when you see them on the course and when you see them in the festival area, it's like you haven't skipped a beat at all, right? It's just right back to the way it was. And most of those folks, you had no idea, you had never met them until you stepped on the course.
Do you like the BeastNet? Do you want to keep hearing it? Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and more at BeastNetPod.
And so many amazing groups out there. I mean, I've dealt with, I started with Beast OCR in the Pacific Northwest. I've raced with, Hawaii Ohana group. I love my Ohana. More Heart Than Scars. And I mean, you meet these people and they become friends. I mean, I've been to their houses and had food. They've been to my house and had food and, done workouts and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's an amazing community.
Absolutely. And again, we get to be part of it. So that's why I feel, that's why anytime and I know you do the same thing when I'm talking to somebody again, when I went to work here 2 years ago, it was the only job I've ever taken where I didn't have to go out and buy clothes to work there because half of my wardrobe is Spartan stuff anyways. And that's all we wear to work. So it was kind of handy. But, whenever I'm out and about and someone sees it and asks a question, and they said, if they've never thought of doing it, I can't do it. Sure you can, because you can walk the entire thing. I challenge anybody, and I know Joe does it all the time. It's like, you want to go run, get with me. I'll get you a coat, we'll get you in a race, bring a couple friends. I always tell this is so much more fun with a group.
It is.
Whether it's 2 people, 5 people, whatever, it is so much more fun with a group of people, coworkers, people from the gym, whatever. Will everybody continue to do more than one? Probably not. If 5 of you go, 3 of you will continue to do a couple extra after that. Somebody's not going to like it. Someone's going to be, crawling under barbed wire and getting muddy and, having, cuts on my legs and my head or whatever. It just doesn't, it's not something I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll be one. For a lot of people though, they get hooked. Right.
I always make the joke. The very first Spartan race I ever did, 2015 Montana race, founders race. I think there's arguments on whether it was 21 miles or 23 miles, but it was long and insane. And there's obstacles that I saw in that race that I've never seen again. I finished it, and literally the first words of my wife was, "That was the stupidest thing I've ever done. I'm never doing another one." And then on the next morning, wake up, we're driving home, and I'm like, well, we did volunteer right before, and I have 2 free races. I might as well. And now I think I'm 60 something in. So I mean, it does. It hooks you.
So I'm going to ask you a question since I realize I'm on your show. I have a question for you. What is the hardest race you've ever done? That was it Montana? Is that the hardest one I've ever done?
Probably, but I mean, it's a toss up between Montana and Hawaii. The Hawaii Beast, if you've never done it, is brutal. It's straight up and down. I mean, there's 2 spots in the thing where you go up 1,000 feet within like a half a mile. I mean, you're climbing up the side of a mountain. Montana is just hill after hill after hill after hill. But the hardest one was really not really just because of Montana. The group I was with, and it was 2016 or 17, I think. 2 of the people I was with got hurt within like the first 4 miles. But we were determined to finish and never stop. So we kept going and kept going. And at some point, Hammond caught up to us. And he's like, and we just looked at him. And my one friend, Stevie's like, you can do whatever you want, but you're not taking us off this mountain. We're finishing this race. And he looked at her and says, well, that's a good answer because everyone behind you quit. Let's go. and he
Nice.
stuck with us, and we went through it. We were the very last racers to finish. My two friends could barely walk by the end of it because they but one had hurt her ankle, one had hurt her hip. But and we had one friend that I don't know, she mentally broke. She just kind of shuffled her feet and giggled. It was weird. But we finished it. And I mean, that was probably one of the most emotional and amazing races. And I think that was one of the ones where I finally thought, this is why I do this, to see them finish. Because they even pointed out, they're like, you're not injured. You're fine. You could just go. And I'm like, but why? We started this together. If I walk away, no. We're finishing this together. And it was an amazing feeling. So that was one. The other one is some people know this. I did Hawaii in 16 with a broken foot. Like all five metatarsals broken. And I had a full boot on. I still have the boot. It's in the garage. It's
As I said,
destroyed.
that's something you have to keep. Yes.
Yeah, it's destroyed. I didn't finish the beast because we got pulled because we ran out of time. But I did finish the super the next morning. So with a full boot. And I mean, that was probably, that one was tough just because I couldn't move. I mean, when you're in a full air boot,
Right.
traction
Yep.
isn't that good. So
Yeah, and then up a hill or up a mountain doesn't help add to it. So
no, not at all. It was brutal, but I tried.
yeah, the cool thing about this story about Montana, and we hear that a lot about people like Hammond, right? Because he's a racer. He
Yes.
still gets out there and runs. He doesn't go out there and just mess around. He goes when he's out there. He's actually very competitive still,
Mhm.
and always has been. And but he's also a racer's racer. So when he came across you guys, that sounds. I can hear it. I can hear him saying it in his British in his accent, right? Just let's go. You are going to finish. Let's go and
Yep.
keep him pushing you. And it's amazing how as I got over the last 2 years to know a lot of the people who wear the blue shirts out there at the Spartan races, and the true what they truly their heart is in it when they're out there. Sometimes they're absolutely wore out because they've been working 14-hour days to put those courses together, and if the weather's not good, then the days are even longer because they're running out of time. But come Saturday and Sunday, the show's on no matter what.
Yeah.
And you guys are probably it was dark, I'm sure, when you crossed the finish line. The fact that you guys crossed that finish line at probably 8, 9 o'clock at night was the team was there longer than they planned on being there, but I bet you still had a standing ovation of people at the finish line, letting you know that was great that you crossed and you guys managed to finish, right?
Yeah, it was amazing because at that time, I mean, I knew a few of the staff members. Most of them aren't here anymore, but Hammond was there. I mean, of course, because he was with us. The old street team lead, Stacy, was there, and I just remember too because when I crossed the line, I mean, I was emotional and everything. I remember, hugging Stacy. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to make my volunteer shift, but and then he just laughed. But I mean, it was so much fun, and I mean, just amazing to get them, through it, and then to see that everyone there is still waiting for us. And I've been lucky when I was volunteering a couple times like in Seattle where I got to be there when the last racer finished. And that's one of the things I think that amazed me all the time too, was how they would go out of the way they now to be like, hey, the last racer is coming, everybody over to the finish line. And everyone would leave their post and walk to the finish line so they could clap and cheer them on like, hey, you did this. And
Yeah.
you don't see that really in any other race.
Yeah,
And
and
I've been
what's interesting too is when you see like I know you've seen this, and I just witnessed this in South Carolina. We were doing the ultra, and one of the elite women, actually elite women and elite men, we had an injury on the team I was with, and down on the ground in some pretty bad pain. And I won't pick on the elite female, elite male that did, so I'll leave their name out of it. But these are people who had they had lap leader bibs on. They stopped to make sure our racer was okay. And I don't mean they slowed down as they went by. They stopped. She held his hand to make sure he was okay and talked to him. and probably was there a good minute and a half, which doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it seemed like eternity to him
Hmm.
because he knew exactly what they were giving up by stopping. And that, what other race, what other competition would the two people who are leading their respective divisions would just stop and make sure that somebody who has gone down is okay. Um, so it's
Which
not
is amazing.
not just the open races, right? It's not just those of us who are with the foundations, who our purpose is to help people. It's everybody within the community. I mean, it is all over the place. So again, I always say if there's anybody who's getting a chance to listen to this and just wondering what is this crazy OCR stuff, and yes, there's electroshock therapy, and at Tough Mudder there's a place where you go down into a ice bath that goes over your head, and the Spartan side you're climbing under barbed wire and usually mud, and you're going to get cut up a little bit, and yeah, we throw spears at targets from and just it's not normal stuff. When you get on the other side of that thing, there's nothing like crossing that finish line.
No, there's not. I mean, it gets you out of your comfort zone. I think that's one of the things. Too many people are too comfortable not being uncomfortable. And you
Yep.
have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that was one of the biggest things because that was one of the things that for years, a lot of people know this. I did Spartan from like 2015. I've been doing since the Montana in 2015, which a lot of people know. The only reason I didn't do 2014, that's how I got my race to Montana. I had 8 stitches on my right hand when I went to Portland, which was used to be called the Washougal race, and I had 8 stitches on my
Mm-hmm.
right hand, so I didn't do the race. I just volunteered and got a free one, which was funny though because while I was volunteering, Joe was trying to convince me to go race, but he's like, "You can do it with this." I'm like, I can't move my one, yeah. But now I'm thinking back, I should have done it, but I did Spartans for years, and I would not do Tough Mudder, and the reason why I don't like to be shocked. And then eventually it was kind of one of those things. My friend Charity, who passed when I was doing the race, the picture that I had, that was Charity. She finally convinced me because she was an ambassador for Tough Mudder. She gave me a free race in the one in Seattle. She was like, "I'm going to be there as an ambassador," because she was from Canada. "Come do it with me." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." So I went and did the race with her. And then what ended up was so funny. I ended up standing in the middle of the wires talking a friend through while I was getting shocked. And it's so funny. She's like, "The
Sure.
one thing you were afraid of, and then you stood there while you were getting shocked to talk somebody else through." And I'm like, eh, they needed help, and I think that's one of the things. And I've seen it from you, and I've seen it in like More Heart Than Scars, Ainsley as Angels, all of them, where your fears kind of go out the window. It doesn't matter what I'm afraid of because this race is about the athlete that we're there for. And that was the whole thing. A lot of people are surprised, like, when we're doing the world's toughest, we as the helpers in a lot of ways didn't do all the obstacles because I wasn't there to do obstacles. I was
Right.
there so Marla could do obstacles, and that was kind of one of those things where, everyone's like, "Oh, this isn't going to count for you." And I don't care about statistics. I don't care if it counts for me. I don't care any of that. That I was there for Marla. And that was the same thing like when I did because some people know the Dallas Ultra did not go well for us this year with Marla, and that's why we're doing Fayetteville. Same thing there. I was there for her. I wasn't there for me. And I think that's the hardest part where a lot of people have problems with these. You have to swallow your ego in a lot of ways because it's like you're not there for you. You're there for them. And to me, that is 10 times more rewarding than anything else that I've done on the course. Once I started doing stuff because some of the listeners know I was done. I was pretty much done. I was going to continue doing the podcast, but focus on some other things. I'm doing triathlons now. I was done with OCR. I'm like, I just don't want to do it anymore. I lost 2020 took a lot out of me. 2020 and 2021, when it came back, it wasn't the same feeling, and I lost a lot of it. This year, when I started doing More Heart Than Scars, being out there with you on, World's Toughest, brought back and reminded me why I started doing this in the beginning. And that's one of the things that
Yeah.
it's the community.
Yeah. And
Ye-
and for like your listeners and stuff out there, again, we've mentioned a couple different groups out there. I know all the groups, are always willing to, if someone wants to, if someone needs some help to get through the course, or if you know somebody, or if you yourself want to help out, want to be one of the helpers. Between More Heart Than Scars and Ainsley's Angels, Oscar Mike, those are the three that bring most of the folks out there who are looking for assistance. But there's so many.
There's a
that
few
are out
others.
there, and you can see Mission 22's out there quite often. And just the number of them that come out and do our events. I know they do other events again. I know they do a lot of other events. And then we have, we even have ones, we have Line Hearts that's out of Southern Tennessee, Northern Georgia. Really cool group that, and again, this is where OCR, and this is OCR Cross, because they run all OCR boards. They do all, and they train kids for free how to do OCR, and some of these kids, like last year, I think a couple of them took first place, second place, third place. Like I think they swept a couple of the age groups in the kids division, and now they're coming up into the 14 to 17-year-olds, and they've been doing it for a few years now. So they're not just coming in as newbies; they're coming in at 14. They've been doing it for 2-3 years, and again, that's another example of what we get to do. And what I find cool about that one, I don't know if you know this or not, the volunteers that come through and help out the training oftentimes are the elite runners from Spartan.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's the Spartan. Like a lot of the Spartan elites will stop by and spend a day, and you just stop in, and they train the kids for the whole day. I know Rachel Roundman. She spends a lot of time there with the team, and there's a bunch of other ones too that do it. So it's again all about the community. It's they give back so much. It's felt all the way through it. So yeah, I know we bounced around a lot, and I apologize for that. But that's the thing about OCR. The thing about OCR is that it covers so much, and
it does.
It's cool how it can touch people and change their lives. I know you've heard a ton of stories about people who, they did one, and it just about killed them. I mean, as far as like took them out, they were overweight when they started, or they smoked or whatever. Then that was their turning point. Now they've done 15, 20 races. They've lost 100 pounds. I've had people tell me it's they just went through a bad divorce and they were really depressed from it. A friend talked them into doing one, and now they're running these all the time, things like that. So it's a pretty cool thing that we get to do.
It is. I think one of my favorite stories on that one was, I think this was like 16 or 17 when I was part of the Spartan Street team. We were working an event every month. We went to, it was like one of the local shoe stores, and they had a huge running like event thing, and we'd work it every month. And every month we would give away a free race. One of the ladies that won happened to just be there with her friend. First time she'd ever done one of those things. A little bit overweight. She won the free race. She came out and did the race with us, and I follow her on Facebook now, and I talk to her every once in a while. She just did she's lost, I think, 130 pounds and just like finished a marathon at Disneyland. Wow. So it's just amazing to see. She doesn't do OCR as much. She did a bunch of OCRs with us, and then kind of went just strictly road racing. But that one race got her into it, and then got her into one of the local groups, and then she just ran with it, and just literally ran with it, and just started losing weight and doing all that stuff. And you see that a lot too, where all of a sudden people get into the local groups, and then you get held accountable by the group too. Yep. So that's another thing. I mean, if you don't do it with like the helping other athletes, and you just get into one of the local groups, which I mean you can find if you go to the Spartan pages, West Coast Spartans, Southern Spartans. There's a bunch of Facebook pages for Spartan, and then you'll see the smaller groups breaking out. Like I think up in the Northwest, it's Beast OCR. I was a big part of that for a long time. Down here, I think in Texas, it's the Southern Spartans. No, that's the other ones. What's the other? Oh, it's the Lone Star Spartans are down here.
Lone Star, yeah, Lone Star Spartans.
At Lone Star are down here, but I think they're close. They're more like Dallas and Austin, and I'm in Houston. So, and it's kind of weird though that you start finding those groups. I found my group here right now is actually more of a rucking group. It's a U-Ruck endurance, and like
Okay.
just this weekend we did a 2-hour ruck, and we do a lot more rucking and stuff like that. But I mean, even the rucking gets you ready for, doing the obstacles and everything else. So I mean, it's just find that group that fits your needs and what you want to do, and I mean, it becomes amazing, And for me right now, it's More Heart Than Scars is the one that I'm doing pretty much most of the races I'll be doing this year will be with More Heart.
Okay. And I think you guys are doing quite a few, looking at the calendar that
Yeah.
that Joey put out there. Looks like there's quite a few events going on, which I love the fact. I think you guys are doing Houston, which is quite a drive for, the group coming out of Georgia. But I love the fact that we're stretching it out a little bit,
It's not for me. It's like,
Yeah, for you. No, not for you. It's
no. I've even told everyone, I mean, if you're coming down here, let me know. I might be able to help you get a place. But yeah, I've already got one. The spare bedroom's already been taken by one person, but I got a big living room and a big yard. So
there you go.
it'll be warm that time of year. You can park, just camp out in the yard.
Is that what you're getting them to believe?
And they can. It'll be warm.
It's
not warm right now, but
Yeah.
It's in March.
Isn't that next month? Or is it March? Okay. All right.
I think it's March.
All right. So
Yeah,
that's not
because
too
I was debating on whether I was going to do it because I'm doing on the first weekend in April, I'm doing the Galveston half Ironman. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to. I'm worried about hurting myself but if I'm helping More Heart Than Scars, I'll do the Houston race. But I'm not sure if I want to do it if I'm not helping them because I don't want to
Right.
risk hurting myself right before the Ironman.
So yeah, I mean, again, I appreciate you having me on. I know we talked about this when we were out there walking around 30 miles in Texas. As we keep going through 24 here, I'm looking forward to seeing you out there. I'm going to be out there a little more this year than I was last year. I tell people it's kind of ironic. I ran the fewest number of races last year that I've ran since I started doing OCR. Now that I work for the company, the job actually got in the way of me going out and doing events. But that's okay. It's okay. I get a chance to still meet a lot of folks and get a lot of these special things done. Some of these special events that we're doing. And like I said, the fact I get to go do a bear crawl to raise, to get money for teddy bears is just not something I ever saw myself doing, and get to organize it and have a little fun with it. And we're hoping to actually do it probably 5 or 6 times throughout the year when we know that there's the race is near a major metropolitan area and we know there's a good sized children's hospital nearby, because that's just again easy for us to do, and put a smile on a kid's face for one moment while they're going through something that they shouldn't have to go through as a kid.
Yeah.
Well worth any effort that can be done.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a cool one. I'm gonna want to see that one. Yeah, I plan on being a little more than last year. Last year, because of the move to Texas, there was a lot of, flux on how many races I was gonna do. Last year, I barely made getting a trifecta when normally I get 3.
Yeah, I got my second trifecta as we did the trifecta weekend in Florida, so I snuck it in there.
Yeah, no, Florida was beautiful, but yeah, I can't wait for the Houston race. That's going to be interesting right now, right in my backyard. So, and I might be going to the West Coast for a couple races to help More Heart Than Scars. Should be good. And thank you for being on here with. You're welcome whenever. If you have something you need to get out there, promote, let me know. You're welcome whenever.
Well, I appreciate that. Appreciate it, and I look forward to hitting at least one of the races with you this year. Are you going to be coming down to Florida for World's Toughest this year?
I believe so. That's the plan. So the hard part has been kind of this year too, is starting a new job, is trying to figure out what I get for overtime days off and stuff like that. So I got to figure out the PTO, and we already we're doing a cruise in February. We're doing the Jay and Silent Bob cruise. So yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, hopefully I'll get you there at least. And maybe sometime, a few races before that, before we get to, I think we're looking at November again. So we got some time before then.
Oh yeah. So I should be at a few of them and see you there. So.
All right.
Well, it's always good to talk to you, and like I said, you're always welcome. You're part of the family, so you're welcome on the podcast anytime.
Well, I appreciate it, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the BeastNet podcast. If you haven't done it yet, find us on Facebook, like and share the podcast. Give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. All these things will help to expand the show in the future. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear.